Got Oreos in my mouth, God.
November 19th, 1986, 12:37 a.m.
What's the word with everybody
Southside
in chat?
Chicago, a maroon Cadillac pulls up to 79th and Ellis. Inside, Willie Flukey Stokes sits in the back seat. No diamonds, no gold, no silk, just sweatpants and a leather jacket. His girlfriend reaches for grocery bags. His driver, Ronald Johnson, shifts into park. Two shadows step from behind a parked car. Shotgun, handgun, glass explodes. Flukey takes rounds to the chest. Johnson is struck. 4 shots, 5, 6. The bodyguard in the tail car fires into the air, not at the shooters. They walk away, calm, calculated. 7,000 people will come to say goodbye. They'll bury him holding a telephone, wearing blue python shoes, in the same funeral home where he buried his son in a Cadillac-shaped coffin 2 years earlier. Stevie Ray Vaughan already made them both legends, but tonight, the king of the South Side bleeds out in a Cadillac, betrayed by the man paid to protect him. This is that story.
Let's see.
Southside Chicago, 1970s through the mid-80s. If you saw a man in silk suits with diamond rings as big as silver dollars, gold bracelets stacked on both forearms, and a diamond-studded F hanging from his neck, you knew exactly who he was. William Morris Stokes, born December 12th, 1937. They called him Flukey. He drove Cadillacs, multiple Cadillacs, had a custom convertible with vanity plates that read Flukey 2. When he walked down 47th Street, people stopped. He'd shake hands, remember names, hand out 50s and 100s like business cards. Old ladies got turkeys at Thanksgiving. Families facing eviction got their back rent paid plus a year in advance. House burned down. Flukey found you a new one. Kids wanted to play ball. Flukey sponsored the team. The streets loved him. But here's what the streets didn't see. 20 to 40 drug houses running 24/7, cocaine, heroin, each house pulling $20,000 to $60,000 a week. Do the math, that's $1 million every 7 days. 200 employees on the payroll, an empire disguised as a pool hall on the south side. IRS said he was unemployed. Tax returns claimed professional gambling, and Flukey played the part. Vegas every weekend, known to win or lose $250,000 in a single trip. Never missed a night at the track. The gambling man. That's what he told everyone. Federal agents knew better. Detective Michael Picordo watched Flukey for years. Watched his name come up in 15 to 20 drug-related murders across the South Side during the 70s and 80s. Bodies in alleys, professional hits. Rivals who got too ambitious, dealers who stole product, witnesses who talked too much. None of those cases ever closed. Flukey understood something most dealers didn't. Violence is a tool, not a personality. You don't wave it around. You use it when the math requires it. And you make sure there's nothing that leads back to you. No witnesses, no evidence, no convictions. But he also understood theater. When you control $1 million a week operation, people need to see the boss, not the violence, not the bodies. They need to see the silk suits and the diamonds. They need to believe the gambling story. They need to see the man who pays for funerals, sponsors basketball teams, and treats a neighborhood like family. That's how you build loyalty. That's how you stay untouchable. By 1984, Flukey Stokes wasn't just a drug dealer. He was an institution, a legend, the richest, most flamboyant kingpin the South Side had ever seen. Police couldn't touch him. Witnesses wouldn't talk. The community protected him. But empires don't last forever.
Oh, shit.
February 1984, everything changed. Not because the feds finally built a case, not because a rival made a move, because someone killed his son. Willie Stokes Jr., 28 years old. They called him the Wimp, but there was nothing soft about him. He moved weight for his father, gambled like his father, dressed like his father. Brand new Cadillac every year for 8 straight years. Pink suits, diamond rings, the next generation. He had a wife, 5 kids, a future in the family business. February 22nd, 1984, Robert's Motel, South Side. Willie Jr. pulls up to check a heroin shipment. Routine business, quality control. Make sure the product's right before it hits the streets. He never made it to the room. Gunshots, multiple shooters. Willie Jr. goes down in the parking lot. 3 days later, February 25th, he's gone. Wife's a widow. 5 kids without a father. No arrests, no suspects, no justice. Here's what most people didn't understand about February 1984. The game was changing. Crack cocaine was flooding American cities. Cheap, addictive, easy to move, and it brought a new kind of dealer. Younger, hungrier, more reckless. These weren't the calculated operations Flukey built. These were kids with guns who didn't respect the old rules, didn't care about territory, didn't care about hierarchy. Willie Jr. got caught in that shift. Old school meeting new school, and the new school didn't ask permission. Police suspected it was young dealers trying to muscle in, trying to make a name, take out the kingpin's son, send a message. But nobody talked. Nobody saw anything. The case went cold. Flukey had to bury his boy. When reporters asked him about his son, Flukey didn't talk about the drug business. He talked about character, about loyalty. He was a fine young man, very well liked, did a lot of gambling. Then he said something that stuck with people. One year I was in debt. He sold his Cadillac to help me out, so I owed him one. That's the line. I owed him one. Most fathers would have given their son a quiet funeral. Private, respectful, keep the family grief away from the streets. Flukey Stokes wasn't most fathers. He'd built an empire on image, on spectacle. His son died in the drug game, and Flukey was going to make sure the world never forgot Willie Jr.'s name. $7,000. That's what he spent on the casket. Flukey went to a custom casket maker with a request nobody had ever heard before. He wanted it modeled after a 1984 Cadillac Seville, Willie Jr.'s favorite car. The casket maker said yes. Then Flukey took it further. He drove that coffin to a local body shop. Panel beaters, the guys who fix wrecked cars, and he told them to make it real. Genuine Cadillac grille, authentic boot, working headlights and taillights that actually blinked. 4 white wall tires mounted on the chassis, plastic windshield, floral steering wheel, full dashboard, even a vanity license plate that read WIMP. When it was finished, it wasn't a coffin anymore. It was a car, a Cadillac, the casket mobile. The viewing was at A.R. Leak Funeral Home, 78th and Cottage Grove, South Side. People lined up for blocks. They weren't coming to pay respects to a dead drug dealer. They were coming to see something nobody had ever seen before. Inside, Willie Jr. sat in that Cadillac coffin, not lying down, sitting up. Hands on the steering wheel like he was about to drive into the afterlife. He wore a flaming red suit, jaunty gray hat tilted just right, diamond rings on every finger, and between those fingers, tucked like he just hit the casino, was several $100 bills. The headlights blinked. On, off, on, off. Jean Stokes, Willie Jr.'s mother, stood near the casket. Reporters asked her what she thought, if this was too much, if it was disrespectful. She looked at them like they didn't understand her family at all. I think he would have really liked it. That's the way he was. He was flashy, and he believed in style. That quote went national. Newspapers across America picked it up. Syndicated columns, wire services, a drug dealer's son buried in a Cadillac coffin with cash in his hands and blinking headlights. It was spectacle. It was excess, peak war on drugs. Nancy Reagan telling kids to just say no, and here's Flukey Stokes throwing a funeral that looked like a celebration. The media couldn't look away. Photos appeared in papers from New York to California. Talk shows discussed it. Preachers condemned it. Community leaders debated whether it was a celebration of life or a glorification of crime. Flukey didn't care. He'd done what he set out to do. Willie Jr.'s name would never be forgotten. But the story didn't end with the funeral. Because 1,500 miles away in Austin, Texas, a songwriter named Bill Carter was reading the newspaper over breakfast. He saw the story about Willie the Wimp and the Cadillac coffin. He turned to his wife, Ruth Ellsworth. "This isn't a column," he said. "This is a song." The Cadillac coffin was about to become immortal. Austin, Texas, 1984. Bill Carter sits at his kitchen table with the Austin American Statesman spread out in front of him. Syndicated column, Chicago story. Drug dealer's son buried in a Cadillac-shaped coffin with working headlights and cash between his fingers. Carter reads it twice. Then he calls his wife and co-writer Ruth Ellsworth into the room, points at the page. "This isn't a column," he says. "This is a song." 2-mile drive to the studio, that's all the time it took. By the time they parked, they had the whole thing written. Verses, chorus, bridge, everything. They walked in and recorded it the same day. 1985, Bill Carter releases Willie the Wimp and his Cadillac coffin on his album Stompin' Grounds. Jimmy Vaughn plays lead guitar. The song's got a shuffle beat, Texas blues, and the lyrics don't hold back. Willie the Wimp was buried today. They laid him to rest in a special way. Then it describes everything. The Cadillac grill, the flaming red suit, the money between his fingers, the blinking headlights, every detail from that funeral turned into a blues rock anthem. The chorus hits like a hook you can't shake. The song spreads through the Texas blues circuit. Club gigs, radio play. People love it because it's not preachy. It's not condemning Willie Jr. or celebrating him. It's just telling the story straight. No judgment. Just facts delivered with a guitar riff. Then Stevie Ray Vaughan hears it. Stevie's already a legend by this point. One of the greatest guitarists alive. He hears Bill Carter's version and knows he has to record it himself. But Stevie's not just going to cover it, he's going to make it heavier, grittier, more electric. July 1986, Stevie Ray Vaughan releases Willie the Wimp on his album Live Alive. It's a live recording, raw energy. His guitar work is ferocious. The song becomes a blues rock standard overnight. Radio stations across the country play it. MTV picks it up. Willie the Wimp, a 28-year-old drug dealer from Chicago's South Side, is now an international icon. Here's the irony nobody saw coming. Stevie Ray Vaughan's version drops in July 1986. 3 months later, November 19th, Flukey Stokes gets murdered. The man who created the Cadillac coffin spectacle, the man who turned his son's funeral into a cultural moment, dies the same year the song about it becomes a hit.
Damn.
Stevie didn't know. Bill Carter didn't know. Nobody knew that Flukey's time was almost up when that song went national. But the universe has a strange sense of timing. By the time Flukey's own funeral happened, Willie the Wimp was already legend. The song made sure of it. And now the media had a new angle. The father who buried his son in a Cadillac gets buried himself just months after a blues rock song immortalized what he did. 1988, Denmark, Midtfens Festival. Stevie Ray Vaughan performs Willie the Wimp live. Thousands of people singing along to a song about a Chicago drug dealer they've never met, singing about a Cadillac coffin they've never seen. The story transcended the streets, transcended Chicago, became part of music history. And that's the power of spectacle. Flukey understood it when he built that casket. You don't get remembered for being quiet. You get remembered for doing something nobody else would dare to do. Something so outrageous, so bold that people can't stop talking about it.
Man.
Willie the Wimp didn't just get a funeral, He got a song, a blues standard, a piece of American culture that will outlive everyone involved. But while the world was singing about the Cadillac coffin, Flukey was facing a different kind of music. Federal pressure, legal battles, rivals moving in, and a betrayal he never saw coming. January 1985.
This is the reason I clicked
Less
on
than
the
a
video.
year after burying his son in a Cadillac coffin, Flukey throws another party. 30th wedding anniversary with his wife Jean. 30 years of marriage. Time to celebrate. $200,000. That's what he spent. He rented out a Southside hotel ballroom, hired the Staple Singers, hired the Chai Lights, both nationally known acts, soul legends. The kind of entertainment you don't get unless you're connected or rich. Flukey was both. Guests packed the room. Hundreds of people, friends, family, business associates. The streets came out to celebrate the king and his queen. Flukey stood at the front with Jean, renewing their wedding vows. 30 years together, through everything. The empire, the arrest, the death of their son. Then Flukey did what Flukey always did. He made it rain. Literally. Walked through the crowd throwing $50 and $100 bills. Guests scrambling to catch them. Money floating through the air like confetti. 200,000 spent. No hesitation. No regret. Before the party, reporters asked Flukey about it. He smiled that smile. Diamonds flashing. It'll be a modest affair. Modest. $200,000. The Staple Singers, the Chai Lights, cash raining from the ceiling. That was Flukey's version of modest. But here's the detail that haunts the story. The location. That Southside hotel, same place Willie the Wimp was murdered a year earlier, same parking lot where his son was killed. Flukey threw a $200,000 wedding anniversary party at the exact spot his boy died. Most people would never return to that location. Too painful, too haunted. But Flukey went back and celebrated. Maybe it was his way of reclaiming the space. Maybe it was defiance. Maybe he just didn't care. Either way, it showed how Flukey's mind worked. Nothing was off limits, not even grief. But while Flukey was celebrating 30 years with Jean, the walls were closing in. August 1st, 1984, Hyde Park. A pharmacist named Robert 𝙵/, 61 years old, gets shot outside his home. 𝙵/ wasn't just a pharmacist, he sold quinine, the cutting agent dealers used to stretch heroin. He'd been supplying Flukey and other Southside dealers for years, 50 pounds a month, then 25, then 5. 𝙵/ was cutting back, going into business for himself. Police believe Flukey ordered the hit. February 1986, Flukey gets indicted, murder, conspiracy to commit murder, solicitation, armed violence, armed robbery. The case looks solid. 3 witnesses. One of them, 𝙵⁴, an admitted hitman who worked as a police informant. Moore said Flukey paid $10,000 to have 𝙵/ killed. Flukey went to trial August 18, 1986. Courtroom packed, prosecutors ready. Then the witnesses took the stand. One by one, 𝙵⁴, the other 2, all 3 recanted, said they lied, said police threatened them, said the whole case was fabricated, charges dropped. Flukey walked out of court wearing his diamonds, his gold, his custom Flukey 2 Cadillac waiting outside. Reporters surrounded him, asked if he really committed all those crimes police said he did. Flukey grinned. Do I look like that? Then he said the line everyone remembered. I'm going to Las Vegas and shoot some dice. 3 months later, he'd be dead. Because while Flukey was beating murder charges, the DEA was building something bigger. Federal racketeering, tax evasion, continuing criminal enterprise, 2 years of investigation, within months of a grand jury indictment. If convicted, life in prison. And here's the final crack in the facade. Despite that $200,000 party, despite renewing vows with Jean, despite 30 years of marriage, Flukey was with his mistress the night he died. Her name was Diane Miller, 31 years old, and on November 19th, 1986,
Cheating on
she
his
was
wife
in the
is
back seat
crazy.
when the bullets came. Earl Wilson, 33 years old, divorced father of 5, worked security at a skating rink on the South Side. Nothing special, just another guy trying to make ends meet. October 1986, Flukey hires him, part-time bodyguard, 3 weeks. That's how long Earl Wilson worked for Willie Flukey Stokes before he set him up to die. But Wilson
For
wasn't just a bodyguard.
$800.
He was a police informant, had been for years. Daily reports to the state's attorney's office. Everything Flukey did, everywhere Flukey went, Wilson was feeding it to the cops, getting paid by Stokes, getting paid by the police, playing both sides. Then 𝐠𝜪Ⅽⅼ𝔸𝕃𢅢 made him an offer. Taylor was 34, motorcycle gang member, Wilson's boyhood friend, and Taylor had connections to people who wanted Flukey dead. The deal was simple. Forgive Wilson's drug debt, give him a stolen car phone, pay his phone bill. Total cost, $800, $800 to betray the biggest drug kingpin on the South Side. But it wasn't just about the money. Prosecutors said Wilson wanted to crown the next king of drugs. Take out Flukey, put someone new in power, and Wilson would be the man who made it happen. 𝐠𝜪Ⅽⅼ𝔸𝕃𢢢 was watching too. 42 years old, former bodyguard for Flukey who went into business for himself. Rival dealer, South Side power struggle. September 21st, 1986, Bay and an associate get ambushed in an alley. Automatic weapon, 4 shots each. Both survive. Police believe Flukey ordered the hit. Bay allegedly put $50,000 on Flukey's head. Word on the street was revenge was coming. Flukey knew it. Everyone knew it. November 18th, 1986. Evening. Flukey takes his mistress, Diane Miller, to the movies. They see Something Wild. After the show, they stop at 79th and Calumet, all-night convenience store, popcorn. Then they drive to Diane's place, 79th and Ellis. Earl Wilson follows in the tail car. That's his job. Stay close, watch for threats, protect the boss. But Wilson's got his car phone out. He's talking to 𝐠𝜪Ⅽⅼ𝔸𝕃𢢢, giving a play-by-play, where they're going, what route they're taking, when they'll arrive. Here's the detail that still haunts the story.
Let's see what's
That
the
night,
detail.
Flukey wore no jewelry, no diamonds, no gold, no silk, just blue sweatpants, red leather jacket, red t-shirt under a blue Michigan shirt, white sneakers, black cap, completely out of character. The man who built his legend on flash and style went out looking like he was running to the corner store. Did he suspect something? Was he trying to stay low? Nobody knows. 12:37 a.m., November 19th. The Cadillac pulls up outside Diane's building, 79th and Ellis. Diane's in the back seat, reaching down for grocery bags. Ronald Johnson, 48 years old, Flukey's driver, shifts into park. 2 men step from behind a parked car. First gunman, shotgun, aims at the windshield. Glass explodes, keeps firing through the passenger side. Second gunman, handgun, shoots Ronald Johnson, multiple shots. Johnson is killed instantly. Flukey takes rounds to the mouth, upper chest. He's holding his portable phone when he's struck. Diane Miller stays down. Here's the shots, here's the glass, here's everything. When it stops, she calls out, "Flukey!" No response. Earl Wilson, in the tail car behind them, fires 4 shots. But he's not shooting at the gunman. He's shooting into the air, making it look like he tried to help. The shooters walk away. Calm, no rush, get in their car, gone. Police find Wilson's story suspicious. Then they get a call. Anonymous tip, someone with a police scanner. Car phones transmit on radio waves. This person heard the whole thing, heard Wilson on the phone giving directions, heard him say, "Tell the boys not to run away," heard him say, "You better get a bodyguard when this is over." Caller lived in Hyde Park, never gave his name, never came forward. Wilson's lawyer argued the caller was connected to law enforcement, a setup, but it didn't matter. November 25th, 1 week after the murder, police arrest Earl Wilson, 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of attempted armed robbery. At trial, Diane Miller testified, wore a green velvet dress, pearls, white fur coat, told the jury exactly what happened, how she was reaching for bags, how the shot started, how she stayed down and called Flukey's name. December 1987, jury convicts Earl Wilson, 2 counts first-degree murder. January 8, 1988, life in prison without parole. Elliot Taylor, never charged. The 2 gunmen, never identified. Charles Edward Bay, never charged. Only Earl Wilson went down, the bodyguard who sold out the king for $800 in a dream of power he'd never see.
You signed the out for $800 and got life in prison.
78th and Cottage Grove, same place that held Willie the Wimp's viewing 2 years earlier.
They didn't even put money on your motherfucking
Now it's Flukey's turn. 7,000 people. That's how many came to say goodbye. Lines wrapped around the block. Mothers lifting children above the crowd so they could see the casket. Young men in suits, old women in church hats. The South Side turned out. One mourner, a young kid, told reporters what Flukey meant to the neighborhood. I was walking on the same street he was walking. I went up to him. I spoke to him. He spoke back. I introduced myself. He shook my hand and everything. That's the man they remembered, not the drug kingpin, not the suspected killer, the man who shook hands, who remembered names, who treated people like they mattered. Inside, Flukey lay in a mahogany coffin. Custom powder blue interior. He wore a blue suit, blue silk shirt, blue tie and handkerchief, blue python shoes. Tinted sunglasses covered his eyes, and in his hands, between his fingers, a portable telephone, the same kind he was holding when the bullets hit. Outside, vendors sold Flukey t-shirts, moved them like dope. Everyone wanted a piece of the legend. The feds knew they'd lost their case. 2 years of investigation, months away from an indictment for racketeering, tax evasion, running a criminal enterprise. Life in prison was waiting, but Flukey never made it to trial. The streets got him first. He ran 20 to 40 dope houses, 200 employees, $1 million a week, the most powerful black gangster in Chicago history. That's what they called him, but he was also the last of his kind. Flukey came up in an era when the drug game had structure, rules, organization. The crack epidemic was changing everything, bringing in young dealers who didn't respect the old ways, who shot first and never asked questions. Flukey died right as that new era began. The old school went out with him. October 20th, 2023, Earl Wilson walked out of prison. 37 years served, 60-year sentence reduced on appeal. He's free now, living somewhere in America. The bodyguard who betrayed the king for $800. The gunmen were never caught. Elliot Taylor was never charged. Charles Bay was never charged. Only Wilson paid, and even he got out. Flukey's buried at Oakwood Cemetery. Same crypt as his son, father and son. Both went out in Cadillacs. Both became legends. Both killed in the game they built. Stevie Ray Vaughan still plays on the radio. Willie the Wimp still gets covered by blues bands across the world. The Cadillac coffins made them immortal. This was Willie Flukey Stokes,
I still got
the king who died holding a
left
telephone, the father who turned funerals into spectacle, the gangster who fed the poor and left bodies in alleys, 7,000 mourners, 2 Cadillac coffins, 1 blues song, 1 betrayal. That's how empires end.
Okay.